Welcome back, everyone. I know it's been a while since I have posted something. It's just been a crazy summer for me. I've had a lot of chaos and just having a real hard time focusing on any kind of artistic anything. So one of the things that I fall back on when I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed and my brain just isn't processing well, I will get out my pen and paper and start doing some Zentangle. If you would like to follow along with me, that would be great. So I have pulled out one of my Opus tiles. I find the center and then just start with the compass, and I'll just start drawing some circles. Each one is about, a half an inch apart. I just eyeball it. I don't measure these at all. So this is basically my string. The first tangle that I'm going to be doing is called WUD, W-U-D. And you just start out with a curvy line. So I am going to just do that in this first circle. And I try to keep them as uniform as possible and about a half of an inch width for each one of them. Some of them are a little bigger, some of them are a little smaller, and that's okay. So the next step is we're going to aura each of these, and I'm going to start at the pencil line and as close as I can aura that arch and stop once I get to the pencil line, and I'm just going to continue doing that until I have filled up this space. It's also one of the art forms that I prefer when I'm traveling because it's easy to carry pens and paper, and so I am just spending time in my hotel room, and so what a great opportunity to just sit and be quiet and just let my tensions melt away. Once you've done one side, you can go ahead and do the other. I like to do this one side and then go in and do the other side because I just probably am a little bit more systematic about my tangling because I can get confused easily. I totally will zone out, and so that can be dangerous, although it's the goal for me is to completely lose myself in this drawing. But anyway, so again, you just do this now, same thing on the other side all the way around. And then I like to shade as I go too, so I'm going to just add a little bit of shading in here and just put a light bit of graphite around the edges of this entire thing and blend that in. And this also helps to hide some of the imperfections that you might find where the pen stops at the pencil line, and it just kind of brings that whole piece together. And then I'm going to grab my little tortillon and blend in that graphite to just give the edges of this a bit of a shadow and makes it look a little bit more dimensional than just a flat element. The next tangle I'm going to be doing is called Toodles, and Toodles is considered an organic tangle, and it's somewhat of a leaf shape. So you start out by just drawing a stem and you aura that line. And once you get that stem drawn, we're going to do just a little fescue. Then you go back up to the point and you come down and make almost a reverse heart shape or a leaf shape. Now you can get as flexible as you want with this and make it as big or as small. And this is one of those that you really just have to experiment with. What you feel like is going to fill your space. Because I'm drawing this behind the first image, it's a little awkward and I'm struggling a bit, but eventually they start flowing and it's just, I really love this pattern. So again, start with your stem, and I think I'm going to make this a little bit longer. I get my little fescue in there. Back to the tip of it. Get your reverse heart shape in there. And then once I get it as long as I think I'd like, I go back in and I kind of weight this a little bit, fill in some of those gaps that are in between some of the leaves, and tweaking, if you will. That's maybe really what this should be called, is just tweaking. I like that. Who wouldn't want to tweak their drawing? Again, it just really, to me, makes it have, pulls it all together. So there are all 4 of them, and I'm going to just zoom in here on the next section, and I believe I'm going to do in Zeppel. And in Zeppel is a Zentangle pattern, and I'm going to use 2 bands here. So, in Zeppel is, how would I describe this? It's really a fun pattern, and I think that in order for it to really fully show the way it needs to have 2 bands. I'm going to draw those in all the way around, and then I'm eyeballing from the center dot and just trying to, like spokes of a wheel, bring those out. And each section is probably about 1/2 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, somewhere around there, just eyeballing it. And again, this is, think in terms of spokes of a wheel, because if I just did these lines straight, it wouldn't really be uniform, right? I'm not overly concerned about each of these lines being 100% lined up, but it helps to kind of try to follow the same pattern, because they're going to get small here in a minute. And then if you're insecure about drawing your lines, get a ruler. You kind of want to make sure you're spacing both sides about the same. I just eyeball it, because again, this is just supposed to be relaxing and fun. I don't want perfection. So fast forward. Now what we're going to do is we are going to draw a diagonal across each of these. And my recommendation is you go from point to point, point to point. Because again, if you tried to draw your lines perfectly straight, you wouldn't be able to. There's going to be a bit of a variation. So you are connecting point to point, point to imaginary point. Okay? And then turn it the other way, and maybe eventually I will pull it into screen and go the other direction. Point to point. Point to point. When I first started doing Zentangle, I didn't realize that that was the best way to do it. And so mine would get off. And that was always very frustrating. And I didn't know how people did that. And then someone finally explained it to me, and that just changed my world. So now we are going to draw another line. Same thing, same concept, point to point, but right down the middle. We're going to do that on both of them. Just always remember point to point. And then we are going to split each of these individual squares again in half. And same thing, if you focus on point to point, that will help keep those symmetrical for you. Oh, one more. Right, fit one in there. Okay, now here's the fun part. So we are going to fill up each of these sections with a little orb. And you can think of this like you're filling it with a balloon. And that balloon is going to push out on the borders of each of these and kind of just be squeezed in there. And what that is really doing is almost making petals, but it just makes this fascinating kind of geometric eye teaser. I just love this. And it's so, this is what I call a Zentangle, because you can really zen out on it and just lose yourself, because you don't have to think about a pattern. You're just filling these little sections in with little itty bitty balloons. Now you notice that these little sections are fairly small, which is why I highly encourage to start out bigger than you probably anticipate needing. You don't have to make it as small as I did. You can certainly make each of those sections bigger, and that can change the look overall of your entire project. And I'm probably going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Although I'm totally zenning out, I'm not going to make you watch this entire thing. And then, isn't that just so cool? It's like little flowers, and the centers seem to kind of move around, and it's no matter which way you look at it. I don't know, I just really love that pattern. And then once you can really get creative with shading that, I'm going to go ahead and finish this off screen, and then we'll get ready to start our next tangle. Here I'm starting the pattern of hurry. Hurry is also a Zentangle pattern. You just want to remember one thing, and that is don't be in a hurry. When you're drawing, hurry. Take your time. But we're just going to divide this in half. As you get to the center, you stop, pick up your pen, and keep going. That's the holly ball method. Then I'm going to go at a diagonal. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. It doesn't need to be perfectly centered, although it's fairly easy to get this one if you're taking your time and really looking. So basically 2 X's in this. And then once you get those lines done, you want to go back to your very first line, which is the one that's on top. You see that? The very first one we drew doesn't have any breaks in it. And then I'm going to aura that line, or repeat that line on each side. And then do that on the opposite side. And sorry, I have to keep turning my tile, but this is, for me, the easiest way to draw a straight line is to push it away. Okay? Now, go to the second line you drew, which was perpendicular. And then we're going to do the same thing. Aura that on both sides. And keep that pattern going. Okay? Same thing. Go to the next one. Or that line, and you just keep doing that pattern until you have this completely filled in. And again, this is another one of those that for me, I can totally zen out on, because you really don't have to think of a pattern. It's a great tangle to fill a space like this. I do find it's the easiest to do in a fairly large space. You get the best effect from it. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up, and I will have to do the rest of it in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll meet you back here with the next one. All right? Bye-bye.